Welcome to Learning in Small Bites, number 10, part 2. The session today is a quick exploration of term time only payments. We will be using an online simulator that does the calculations in the background and compares the pay a term time only person receives with what a person who was not term time only could have reasonably expected for the same period of work. For simulation purposes, we've assumed a school that each year has 3 terms, autumn, spring and summer. We've shown the 2021-22 terms for our fictional school. Actually, while we're at it, let's make a fictional UK borough. In this fictional borough, the local authority maintained schools are open for 195 days each year. Each year there are term holidays and half-term holidays. And the school also observes the bank holidays in England. Here are the 2021-22 bank holidays as an example. Note that there are normally 8 bank holidays in a year, but in this year we had the extra for the Platinum Jubilee. We are going to use a pay simulator to look at 3 scenarios. 1. The circumstance in which a term time only person is likely to be underpaid. 2. The circumstance in which a term time only person is likely to be overpaid. 3. When it is probably best not to pay in accordance with term time only. The link is HRMIS.online/HRSS/TTonly.php, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. It is accessible from our Learning in Small Bites main page. You do not need to sign in. Everything you need is on screen. Actually, looking at the Learning in Small Bites main hub, we so have to make that responsive to mobile phone screens. When we started, we never guessed how the smartphone market would evolve. Actually, not quite. Lawrence, if you are watching, you were right all along. Kudos to you, Lawrence. Well done, you were right. Okay, back to work. The page is purely for term time only pay simulations. You will need to enter a start date for a period of work, then an end date. From the video at part 1, you will know that in this fictional school, a full-time working week is based on 36 hours. The page defaults to full-time of 36 hours, but you can enter any amount less than 36 that you want. The system will automatically calculate the person's full-time equivalent, their FTE, from the working hours that you put in. The full-time non-term time only salary must be put into the system. Please note that is the full-time salary point for the role as paid to anyone who is not term time only. The system will take care of the calculations necessary to work out the term time only pay when the Calc Entitlements button is clicked. In order to do its calculations, the system holds all of the fictional school's holidays and all of the national bank holidays. Your school dates may be different, so please treat this as purely for demonstration purposes. If you have watched the previous videos on annual leave and sickness, you will already know that in order to calculate properly, the system must hold a set of bank holiday dates. The school holidays are a new addition. There is a drop-down that shows the basis of calculations in the system. Basically, it is the information that was explained in the video at part 1. If you've had enough of numbers, then ignore this. It is only there for payroll purposes and to fulfill the contractual expectation that the method of calculating a person's pay must be made clear to them. Anyway, the default is it is hidden unless you want to see it. As mentioned before, the FTE is derived from the contractual hours entered, and so is the non-term time only salary. There is another drop-down which, when clicked, shows what the pay would be for an all-year-round person, a person only working school days but not on a term time only contract, and the term time only pay. Again, this is useful if you want to see the numbers and what the non-term time only people accrue in annual leave. It is also useful in showing the difference between what a hypothetical non-term time only person might enjoy in terms of pay and value of leave accrued. The difference between that and what a term time only person receives helps indicate whether the term time only person has been under or overpaid for the period. Again, this is in place for anyone who wants to delve into the calculations. That is why it is hidden by default. For accuracy purposes, the calculations are shown on screen to the 6th decimal place. And finally, the bottom line gives an indication as to whether the person has been under or overpaid, or whether they have been paid exactly what anyone else would have been paid. There's also the normal built-in help file to take the user through how to populate the system. Let's simulate for a full-time, term time only person employed from the start of the school year on 1st of September 2021 to 3rd of April 2022, the last week of the spring term. The full-time all-year-round salary for their role is £24,000 per annum. As explained in part 1, I use this amount for demonstration purposes because it is a nice round figure. And we will leave the default full-time 36 hours in place, click the Calc button, and at the bottom line we see that the person may possibly have been underpaid by £1,930.57 if their term time only pay is based on basic annual leave. This rises to as much as £1,974.31 if they have extra long service leave built into their pay. Okay, why is the simulation saying that a person paid for the autumn and spring terms and then leaving is possibly underpaid? Let's open the drop down and look. To summarise, it is because, for example, in respect of someone without long service leave, the sum of basic pay accrued for that period should have been at least £14,107 plus. But the term time only person only received £12,177 plus basic pay for the period. How can this be? Well, remember from part 1, the term time only pay is based on a percentage of whole time pay that is technically taking into consideration all of the school holidays and reducing pay accordingly. If a term time only person leaves in a year but has not enjoyed their allocation to paid school holidays, then they may likely have been underpaid. Did you notice that whilst the school kindly paid the person up until the last Sunday of term, they did not pay them any of the end of term holiday? If that had been paid, it would have offset some of their underpayment. However, there is still a proportion of the remaining school holidays that the person has also had evened out of their pay at the point of leaving. You can see from the drop down they have worked 132 days out of 195 days already, but missed out on some of that share of the school holidays for the year. That is where the underpayment arises. Please note that this is purely indicative, and it is always best to use your own specialist to see what actually went through your own payroll if you feel that you may have been underpaid. Next, click the refresh button to clear any messages, and let's look at a situation where a person is brought into a school partway through the summer term and leaves at the end of the following September of that year. So we'll say they work from 6th of June 2022 to 30th of September 2022. Click the count button and we see that the person has possibly been overpaid by as much as £702.71 if their term time only pay is based on basic annual leave, rising to as much as £718.63 if they have extra long service leave built into their pay. Okay, but why is the simulation saying this? Let's click the drop down and look. The school was only open for 56 days during the period. To summarise, it is because, for example, in respect of someone without long service leave, the sum of basic pay and accrued leave for working the school days should have been around £5,973 odd. But the term time only person received £6,675 plus for the period. Did you notice that the person only worked 56 out of 195 days, but actually enjoyed pay for the whole of the summer holidays, which they had not actually accrued in full? That is where the overpayment is likely to have come from. Please note that this is purely indicative, and it is always best to use your own specialist to see what actually went through your own payroll, if you feel that there may have been an overpayment. Please click the refresh button and let's look at the scenario of a person employed just for the month of March, from 1st of March 2022 to 31st of March 2022. Click the count button and we see that the person has been underpaid, possibly by as much as £730.33 if they are on basic pay, rising to as much as £746.87 if they have long service pay. How could that have happened? Let's click the drop down and look. There were 23 days of school in that month. There were no holidays at all. In effect, the term time only person has worked a full month, the same as any other worker, but they have only been paid, for example, £1,727 plus. But we already know that on a £24,000 per annum contract, the pay would have been £2,000 per month even before we add in annual leave accrued. So there is an obvious underpayment clear to the naked eye, as sure as eggs is eggs. The term time only person has had their salary reduced to take account of school holidays. However, they have not had a single day of holiday in the month they were employed for. Looking closer, we see that if we had paid by the day for March, a non-term time only paid person could be paid for 23 days, which would give a sum of basic pay and accrued leave of £2,458.17 odd. However, looking even closer, anyone else paid a monthly salary would actually be paid a sum of basic pay and accrued leave of £2,207.12. That would actually be the appropriate amount to pay. In a circumstance such as this, it would not be appropriate to pay term time only, and it would be cost effective to pay a monthly salary rather than by the day. Please note again that this is purely indicative, and it is always best to use your own specialist to see what actually went through your own payroll if you feel that there may have been an overpayment or an underpayment. We can adjust the working hours, let's say to 8.5 hours per week. I should have clicked the refresh button before making that change. Anyway, we see that the full-time equivalent and salary are reduced accordingly, as is the bottom line figure. When we click the drop down, we see that the explanatory figures are adjusted as well. In essence, no matter what the scenario, the system tries its best to explain the calculations it has used. Now, it occurs to me that the one thing that we have not done is show a balance where the person is neither under nor overpaid. An easy scenario is looking at a person who works a full school year that starts on the first of the month, with the summer holidays ending at the end of the month. And as if by magic, that is the 2021-22 school year in this system. Let's get the default screen up. Let's put in the dates of 1st of September 2021 through to 31st of August 2022. Salary remains 24,000. Calculate entitlements. And there you have it. The term time only person has been paid the exact money, including leave and bank holidays, that anyone being paid by the day worked would have been paid. Anyone working the whole period will have received all of the school holidays and bank holidays available. So for example, if we paid by the day, the system shows the salary that would have been paid and the pay for school annual leave accrued and bank holidays. Notice how the sum of this is the same as the term time only pay for the period. This helps demonstrate that the term time only person is indeed getting the salary for the role plus pay for accrued holidays and bank holidays. Imagine that, a machine programmed to do the intricate calculations that explains itself and leaves the people in the office free to have the quality customer-facing conversations. In closing, as we have gone along, I have noticed two things. One, that there is probably scope to do another video explaining the technical side of what the system is doing. That would be more for anyone doing payroll and interested in building their own simulation system. We might do that if the need arises. 2. There may be instances in which a term time only person may have their pay reduced. Situations such as sickness or maternity leave. Please be careful in those instances that there is not a loss of leave that is already built into the pay. So that's term time only in a nutshell, introduced in two different parts, part 1 and part 2. And next we might turn to casework recording. That has been pending for years, and the technology is virtually there for us to have a go. Anyway, until the next time, goodbye, and thank you very much for watching.